greatest third baseman in the history of the Orioles and baseball, Brooks Robinson.
Welcome, travelers. This is the Baseball Time Machine. Defense is an art form, and very few have mastered it. In today's game, one can look towards someone like Nolan Arenado, but the first to really lock down the hot corner was a man they called the human vacuum cleaner. Brooks Robinson didn't just earn that nickname for nothing. His gold glove and heart of gold cemented his place as one of the game's best defenders and best people. How so? Let's step into the portal and find out. Before the gold gloves, the diving plays, and the enshrinement into Cooperstown, Brooks Robinson was just a kid from Little Rock, Arkansas who dreamed of playing third base in the major leagues. Although we know that he'd more than achieved that dream, it didn't always look that way. At age 17, Brooks Robinson signed with the Baltimore Orioles for $4,000. Despite other offers from the Reds and Giants, Robinson chose the O's due to the fact that he'd have the best opportunity to get playing time there. They had just moved from St. Louis one season prior and were among the worst teams in baseball. This would remain the case for the next several years, but all young Robinson wanted to do was play. He started in the minor leagues but got a taste of the bigs in his first season with the organization. He struggled through 6 games, going 2 for 22 to begin his time in Baltimore. In fact, he'd struggle offensively through his first 4 seasons of professional baseball, splitting time between the major and minor leagues. One man who made a great impact on Brooks was eventual Hall of Famer George Kell. Kell, a fellow corner infielder, spent the final 2 seasons of his 15-year MLB career with the Orioles, and in the process mentored the 20-year-old Robinson. Although he experienced roadblocks in the process, there was nothing that could keep him from making his dreams come true. It had already been over 2 years since his big league debut, but Brooksy was finally able to experience his first full season at the highest level in 1958. Still only 21, Robinson played 145 games for the 6th-place O's, posting below-average offensive numbers. This caused him to begin the following season in the minors, but this is where he turned a corner. When he was brought back up in 1959, he hit much better, batting .284 in 88 games. He hit his stride towards the end of the season, hitting .340 over the final 2 months to claim the starting spot at the hot corner. He'd hold that spot for the next 16 years. After 6 lackluster seasons in Baltimore, the O's surprised everyone by challenging the Yankees for the American League pennant in 1960. Brooks and the boys were tied for first as late as September 15th, but the Bronx Bombers went on a crazy run, winning their final 15 games to pull away and win the pennant. Nonetheless, it was a huge step forward for the franchise, as they finished above .500 for the first time since 1945. At the same time, it was Robinson who emerged as a leader on a young Orioles squad. He had the best season of his career to that point, batting .294 with an above-average OPS+. He received praise through accolades, as he was selected to his first 2 All-Star games and won his first of 16 consecutive Gold Glove awards. Robinson also finished towards the top of AL MVP voting, trailing only Yankee sluggers Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle. Brooksy had hit his stride and would only get better from here. In 1962, Robinson set career highs in homers and RBI while batting .303, but the focus remained on his dazzling defense. Hall of Fame pitcher Robin Roberts joined the O's that year and instantly praised the reflexes Brooks displayed at the hot corner. Both Robinson and the Orioles took a step back in 1963, but returned to contention the following year. They won 97 games, good enough for a 3rd-place AL finish. Brooks had his best year offensively, posting career highs in almost every major offensive category, while leading the American League in RBI and WAR. He was the face of durability as well, only missing 2 innings of Baltimore's 163 games played. To Brooks, there was nothing more satisfying than seeing his name in the lineup each day. Another late-season hot streak got the attention of award voters, as Brooks Robinson was awarded American League MVP. The defense was never in question, as he won his 5th consecutive Gold Glove award. Once the offense came together, there became little doubt that Brooksy would be an MVP-caliber star. Baltimore was really good in 1965, but again didn't have enough to claim their first pennant. It appeared that they were one offensive weapon short of having a team worthy of reaching the Fall Classic. Enter Frank Robinson. In the offseason, the O's acquired All-Star and former MVP outfielder Frank Robinson. Together, the Robinsons would create a dynamic duo that defined the franchise and led the team to their greatest run of success. Brooks was elated to have Frank joining the ball club, letting him know that he was the missing piece of their championship puzzle. It's hard to think of a better way to debut with a new club than to win the Triple Crown, but that's exactly what Frank Robinson did. He led MLB in home runs in the AL in batting average and RBI, giving Baltimore the boost they'd been lacking. To no surprise, Frank took home AL MVP, with Brooks trailing right behind him in voting. With the Orioles' offensive attack having been strengthened greatly, they finally made the leap to pennant winners, taking the American League crown of the 97 and 63 campaign. In their first ever trip to the World Series as the O's, they'd meet the heavily favored Los Angeles Dodgers. LA had won 2 of the previous 3 fall classics, and with the likes of Koufax and Drysdale, many believed that they would be winning a third in 1966. The Birds had other plans though. They swept the Dodgers, securing their first World Series title. Homers from Brooks and Frank fueled a Game 1 win, while complete game shutouts from Ozarms in Games 2, 3, and 4 carried them to the promised land. Having a title under his belt was very satisfying to Brooks Robinson. For him, even over a decade into his career, it was still all about the dream. If you think the 1966 result is satisfying, just wait. The team slightly regressed in the next couple seasons, but Brooks' play remained rather consistent. A managerial change mid-season in 1968 would get things going again, as Hank Bauer was replaced by Earl Weaver. Weaver's fire and passion motivated his troops, getting them back into elite form. Ironically, 1969 would be an off year for Brooks Robinson, who only hit .234. The run-scoring ability was still there though, as he slugged 23 homers and drove in 84. Baltimore was nothing short of fantastic as a team, going 109 and 53 to take the American League East with ease. After a swift sweep of Minnesota in the ALCS, they would meet the New York Mets in the Fall Classic. The Mets franchise was in a similar position that Brooks' O's were in 1966, as this was their first real taste of success. Fate or otherwise, the Miracle Mets took the series in 5 games, marking their first championship in franchise history. Brooks struggled heavily on the grandest stage, going 1 for 19. A year from then, Robinson would pull a total 180. The Orioles remained in great form the next season, winning another AL East title and taking care of Minnesota again in the CS. What Brooks Robinson was about to do in the 1970 World Series would take him to another level of stardom. After hitting .583 in the series against Minnesota, Robinson shined against Cincinnati, hitting .429 with 2 home runs as well as a fair share of outstanding defensive plays. The Orioles were up 4-1 in the 6th inning of Game 3, and leading off was Johnny Bench, soon to be named NL Most Valuable Player. Bench lined a foul ball that appeared to be out of Robinson's reach, but Robinson dove headlong into foul territory and miraculously snared the baseball, a fine addition to his stellar highlight reel. This play is one of many reasons why Cincinnati's Lee May nicknamed Robinson the human vacuum cleaner. 2 games later, the Baltimore Orioles were once again World Series champions. Teammates and opponents alike shared their admiration for Robinson's World Series play. Boog Powell, who was known for his bat, admitted that he would prefer Brooksy at the plate over him in a tight ballgame. Reds manager Sparky Anderson felt that Robinson's defensive range was limitless, and that nothing could get by him. Brooks Robinson fittingly earned World Series MVP, making him the first player in MLB history to win League MVP, All-Star MVP, and World Series MVP. His teammate Frank would win All-Star MVP the following year to become the second player to complete the trifecta. No one has done it since. In 1971, Brooks and the Birds continued their dominance over the American League. Robinson put up very solid numbers, and the O's took the AL East again with a 101-win season. After sweeping Oakland in the ALCS, they returned to their 3rd straight Fall Classic, where they'd meet the Pittsburgh Pirates. Led by Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell, the Buccos would be no easy task. Despite Baltimore going up 2-0 in the series, including a Game 2 in which Brooksy reached base 5 times, they'd lose 4 of the next 5, as Pittsburgh celebrated their 4th World Series championship. Robinson had a very good series, but Clemente stole the spotlight, batting over .400 like Brooks did the autumn prior. 1971 would be Mr. Hoover's final trip to the World Series, as Baltimore began to move in a newer, younger direction. 36-year-old Frank Robinson was dealt out west in the offseason to make room for slugger Don Bailey. Without Robinson's presence, the offense collapsed, and the Orioles fell to the middle of their division. The lifetime .274 hitter, Brooks provided little help, batting only .250. The Orioles returned to the postseason in each of the next 2 seasons, but were ousted by the early 70s Oakland dynasty both years. Through the team's changes and shortcomings, Brooks Robinson remained a team player. In 1975, at age 38, Brooks Robinson won his 16th consecutive and final Gold Glove Award. In his career, given 9,165 chances, Mr. Impossible only made 263 errors. His defensive prowess was nothing short of legendary. While his defense never faltered, his presence at the plate worsened. He only hit .201 in 1975 and .211 in 1976. By the end of the 76 season, Doug DeCinces had replaced Brooks Robinson at the hot corner. It was clear that the end was near. Brooksy's transition from the field to the dugout began in 1977 when he became a player coach, joining Baltimore's staff. He only appeared in 24 games in what would be his 23rd and final big league season, leaving his mark on the Orioles franchise, the city of Baltimore, and the baseball world as a whole. His 23 seasons with the O's is the longest any player has spent with one franchise, now tied with Red Sox icon Carl Yastrzemski. There's no one who fits the Mr. Oriole moniker better than Brooks Robinson. The Orioles wasted no time honoring Robinson, retiring his number 5 on Thanks Brooks Day in September of that season. He and Frank Robinson also became the first inductees of the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame. Out of several stars to play for the Birds in that era, there's no doubt that Brooks Robinson was a favorite. In 1983, his first year on the ballot, Brooks Robinson was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, the first third baseman to gain entry into Cooperstown on the first ballot, and only the 7th ever from that position. The honor spoke volumes about how he was perceived by the baseball world. In his speech, Robinson thanked his mentors Paul Richards and George Kell for what they taught him as a young ballplayer. In a heartwarming coincidence, Kell was there at the ceremony, as he was also being inducted via the Veterans Committee. Kell had praise of his own for his former protege.
And to Brooks Robinson, my congratulations. Brooks, my cohort on the baseball field, today in the broadcast booth, friend of many, many years. I still find it, Brooks, almost unbelievable that we have traveled the same path for so long with the same goals in mind, and we wind up here in Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame on the same day.
Brooks Robinson is arguably the finest fielding third baseman in baseball history. His 16 Gold Gloves are unrivaled at the hot corner, and only pitcher Greg Maddux has earned more. His 39.1 D-WAR only trails the wizardry of Ozzie Smith and Mark Bellinger, who was Robinson's teammate for 13 years in Baltimore. He ranks first all-time in TZR, as well as games played, putouts, assists, double plays turned, and range factor among third basemen. For how good of a ballplayer Brooks Robinson was, he was an even better person. Fans, players, and press have gushed over the years about how much he meant to them, and how his impact was felt even off the diamond. There wasn't an item he wouldn't sign. He set a great example as a role model, complementing his natural talents with hard work and dedication. In 1966, it was said that Baltimore's love for Brooks Robinson came second to crab cakes. Almost 60 years later, there's a chance that Brooksy has seized that number 1 spot. Brooks himself once said in 1970 that people wouldn't care about his contributions to the game in a few decades. Here we are, over 50 years later, celebrating his legacy. This has been the Baseball Time Machine. Thanks for traveling with us. We here at Baseball Time Machine appreciate you spending time with us. To celebrate our recent journey, crack these codes for a chance to win a mystery artifact. Safe travels!